Hey, Cat. This is a follow-up video to my Kurt Lewin's Theory of Change video, and this will be a little bit shorter, but it's actually probably more important. Most people who've thought about shtf scenarios will have thought about the process of change and how to encourage and motivate and reinforce change that may be enforced from external in shtf in amongst their local group or their family and themselves as well. Remember, you're not immune to suffering emotional anxiety and psychological unsafety in shtf. One of the great things about Lewin, and I said I wouldn't get into it in too much detail, but I do want to do this. The end of this video will have a 25-second slide that you can look at, but I'm just going to talk about it now and reference the slide. One of the things he did was force field analysis, and what Lewin's basically saying is that there are drivers for change and resistors for change. Once the drivers overcome are more powerful than the resistors, then change will occur. So to try and make change occur when the resistors are stronger than the drivers is not just a waste of effort, it actually will make people unhappy, very unhappy. So you shouldn't be doing it. So what you need to do is actually look at what are the drivers for this change and what are the resistors of this change. That allows you to have what he said was, I referred to in the other video as, a logical reason to make the change. And again, everybody has to have that logical reason. Maybe different reasons, but everybody has to have more drive to change than resistance to change. So in the example I'm using here, it's obviously from management, obviously from corporations, but for example in an shtf situation, the drivers for change might be consumer demands. You know, the family might be sick to death and not having enough water, but perceive that they'll have more at the bug out location, or heat, or safety, or food, whatever it is. That might be a good driver. Government interventions, that's a good one. You might feel that you need to move away from or go towards government aid. Government's not always evil. The other one is demographics. Aging population is a drive to change. For example, the change may be that you have planned to bug out, and the change is that we are not bugging out now because now SHF's happened. We're too old, too sick, too fat to actually get there. So we're going to let it go. We're going to change from our bug out mentality to an in-house mentality. And then everybody has to sign up on that as well, or you're going to have problems later on. And it says multidisciplinary care teams at the end, because I'm a nurse, so I take stuff from nursing. Well, that basically means everybody on board has to agree with this change. Now, I think the resistance is the one that's most going to be easier to examine, but also the hardest to deal with. Lack of time to make the change is a definitive one people have. You can make time to make change once the drivers tell you to make the change. When your resistance is higher than the drive, you will never find the time to make a change. Organizational culture. Now, organizational culture is the culture of an organization. For example, look at your mag group, look at your family, look at yourself. How are decisions made? Are they hierarchical? Are they authoritative? Are they democratic? Are they laissez-faire? Well, that could be a whole subset of videos. If you guys are interested in this type of video, let me know below. Internal politics. You know, the wife might go along with what the husband's saying in a group, but she may disagree with the group's decision and with her husband, but because of politics and being silenced and not actually having leadership that actually encourages and listens to her point of view may not be heard, and therefore she may enter this change in with resistance still higher than drivers, which will self-sabotage and possibly group sabotage the change. This doesn't mean to say that she's actually wrong. The group could be wrong, but because they've never had the chance to actually hear her point of view, they may be missing something important. Poor leadership, that's a definitive one. Now, you can't train leaders. Leaders are born. Are they? I don't know. Can you train leaders? Are leaders always born? Do some leaders have certain traits, personalities? That again could be an entire video. If you guys are interested, let me know. Lack of motivation, I think, is going to be the biggest one. The motivation in shtf is going to be to continue business normal. For as long as possible. You see that online all the time. This is why preppers are prepping toilet roll, toothpaste, hairbrushes in inch bags. The whole concept that society has fallen and they're not going to be suffering particularly because of it is an interesting one. Motivation and change in shtf should be incredibly strong. This is adapt now or die later scenarios, right? By the nature of shtf. Poor communication is an interesting one. Communications also could definitely be a video series. And change fatigue. Change fatigue in hospitals is definitive. Change is like ongoing all the time. Most change is hierarchical. Most change does not require input from the workforce. The workforce, when they try and give input, is largely ignored. Don't run your family, don't run your mag group that way. Alright, so this is the video. Like I say, think about change. As Bridges says, it is not the changes that do you in, it's the transitions to change. So in SHTF, change is there. Try and make sure you've got psychological and emotional and physical support, so good communications and good leadership internally and externally to actually deal with the transition phase in SHTF. Don't worry too much about what you're doing, but do consider a lot more about how it's going to make you feel. It's overlooked and it's very, very important. Psychology is 99% of survival. Luck's the other 1%. Au revoir.
Tied when I